Alright, so now we look at a DI case, right, from slot 1 of CAT 2025. This over here, this seems like a tough one, right? A lot of numbers over here and a lot of bars and stuff. Now, this is the kind of case where if you switch these or rather convert these or shift them into a table, that's going to be quite easy for you rather than working directly with these numbers, looking at these charts, because it's going to be quite painful for the eye, right? So we have a write-up, right? It's quite long, so we have to read it carefully and then we have to answer the questions. A lot of numbers involved over there, so we better write them down in the table format. If it's only comparison, we could work with it differently, but we have some things given over here as trade surplus and somewhat formulae. It's best if you switch this into a table. Let's quickly understand as to what it is. Now, 5 countries engage in trade with each other. Okay, they're trading. Each country levies import tariffs on the other countries. Okay, 5 countries given over here. They are levying import tariffs. Okay, the import tariff levied by country X to country Y is calculated by multiplying the corresponding tariff percentage, some percentage, with the total imports. You're multiplying these two. Some, let's say 40% tariff on, you're going to save something like 15. And what is the tariff going to be? The actual tariff, 40% of 15, 2/5 of this, come to 6, for example, right? This is the import tariff. This is the imports, and this is the tariff, import tariff as a percentage, right? IT is import tariff. Now, the radar chart below depicts different import tariff percentages, okay, charged by each of the 5 countries on the others. For example, US charges, US over here, blue line, that's going to be 20-40 on France, India, and then 30-30, and that's correct. France, India, Japan, UK respectively, that's also correct. The bar chart depicts the import tariffs. Which one? The final result levied by each country on other countries. For example, US charged import tariff of 3 billion USD on UK. Okay, so US on UK, which is black over here, was $3 billion. That's correct. Okay, we got that. So that's it. Let's get these into a table format, right? So I just created 2 tables. It's there for ready use. You might take a couple of seconds over here, or 20 seconds to form these. Won't take too long. Let's say tariff percentage or tariff percentage, and this is going to be tariffs only, right? Let's make it clear. IMP, so that there is no ambiguity. Okay, so these are left and right over here. The middle one is the actual import value, which is what we have to find. Okay, now US and US, could US import from US? Not really. You're not going to have anything over there, right? So that's what is missing over here on the bar as well as this one. That's why it doesn't look to be connected, right? So the same over here, right? You're going to have a blank. You can't be importing or exporting from yourself, right? So what do we have over here for the blue line? With the blue line, I know 20, 40, 30, 30 US, right? Let's say this is imported, imposed by, right? Import tariff imposed by on these countries, right? On these countries imposed by, right? These are the countries doing it on them. Okay, fine, right? On the other countries, these are the on countries. Fine, clear with that. US imposed how much tariff on the rest as a percentage? That's given to us 20, 40, 30, 30. So 20, let's be clear, 40, right? So filling these up is what is going to take a bit of time. I'm not just going to give you a pre-filled table. I'll quickly show you that. No, it's not going to take too long. France over here, the blank over here is with France. The rest of it, what's it going to be? 10, 20, 30. So 30 and then 40 all the way, 30, 30, 40, 30, 40, right? So 30, 40, 30 and 40. Careful, don't make mistakes. India over here, that's a 40 going to 50. That's a 40 going to 50. That's the green line. And then there's a blank, and where does the green line start? 50 again and coming all the way to 20, right? 50 and then 20. Okay, quickly. Japan, yellow, 40, 30, 50, 40. 40, 30, 50, and then 40, right? Yeah, no mistake. Fine. Last one, UK, black. That's going to be starting there, 20, and then it's going to a 30, 20, 30, 30. Okay, 20, 30, 30, and then finally ends with a 40. All right. Okay, let's write this clearly. In fact, let me clear it up a bit. Okay, that's done. Now on to the bars over here. US import tariff on these four countries. What's that? This could be quicker, right? So 6, 4.5, 7, okay, 6, 4.5, 7, and we were told it was 3 over here, and 3 it is. Okay, the next one, 5.5, a blank, 5.5, 6.5, 4, 5.5, 6.5, and a 4, and finally I'm getting a 4.5, right? That's a 4.5. Okay, taking a bit of time, but it's okay. 9, 5, 3.5, and a 5. So 9, 5, 3.5, and a 5. Let's be clear. 3.5, yes, and a 5. Okay, don't make mistakes here. 4, 3, and an 8, and a 3. 4, 3, 8, 3. 4, 3, 8, 3. Right? The blank over here is for this blank over here. That's clear. Now 2.5 and a 4. 2.5 and a 4. That's the time consuming part here. 3 and then a 6. You directly do it, it's still going to be time consuming, right? Looking at this carefully is going to be a little painful. Always form a table when you have too many numbers over here. Now let's move to the questions. Okay, so what do we have over here? Assume that imports from one country to another country equals exports from latter to former. Okay, so import from one to the other is export from the other to this. Okay, trade surplus of country X with country Y is defined as follows. Trade surplus exports from X to Y minus imports to X from Y. Trade surplus I'm going to have, it's good for me if I'm exporting more. Exporting from X, I'm exporting outside, right? Country X with Y is when it's nothing but exports minus imports. Now, what you need to understand over here is we are given the import over here, right? We are given the import, US import from France, tariff percentage, and the tariff value. And we clearly wrote over there that, we have a relationship, the tariff percentage into the import is the actual tariff itself, right? Quickly, let's write it down over here. Tariff percentage into the import itself is going to be equal to the actual tariff. Okay, then what is import going to be? Import is nothing but tariff divided by tariff percentage. That's it, right? Tariff divided by tariff percentage. Yeah, tariff percentage. Okay, you can write it this way. You can also write it once again, tariff percentage, just for your understanding, into import equals tariff. They're one and the same, right? So they're one and the same. Okay, whichever way, whatever is going to help you. How much is Japan's export to India worth? Japan's export to India, then India's import from Japan, the other way around. India import from Japan is what you have to read. So how do we deal with the first question? The first question, India import from Japan was met with a 50% tariff on the imports, right? Once again, Japan export to India is India import from Japan. That's what is clearly given over here, right? 50% of the imports equals India import from Japan, 50%, and that was 3.5 billion USD in terms of tariffs, right? So 50% of something is 3.5, then this import should have been 7, right? This should have been 7. Half of 7 is 3.5. The first one is 7 billion USD. Okay, let's move to the next one. Seems quite easy. Which among the following is the highest? Okay, here it's exports by something to something, import by something to something, import. Now, all of this entire table is supporting imports. Import by US to France is easy. Now, export by Japan to UK has to be read the other way around. Import by UK to Japan. So, the first one is nothing but import by UK from Japan, right? 40, the first one. and 40% was equal to 6. Now, how do we deal with this? I'm not going to write it in detailed steps, that you can do later. If 40% is 6, then 10% is 1.5. My imports, total imports is going to be 100%, and that would be 15. 15 is what this is. Just for this particular one, I'm going to write this in detail. The rest of it, I'm not going to do it. Try to understand this. 40% into imports equals 6, right? 40% is nothing but 2 by 5. Import over here is nothing but 5 into 6 by 2, right? And you simplify, you're going to get a 15. It's the same 15 we got over here. But what I'm trying to say is, if 40% of something is 6, then 100% is that entire thing. So 40% is 6, 10% is what? Divided by, this was a percentage, divided by 4. Divide 6 by 4, 1.5. How do I bring it to 100%? Multiply with 10. Get rid of the decimal, you get 15 over here. So this over here is nothing but 15. So likewise, if you continue, imports by US from France, you can continue, right? Import is straightforward. So it's already in the import form. US, France, 26. Think about it. 20 and 6, then 10% is going to be 3, then 100% is going to be 30, right? It can become quite simple and quick. You should be able to do it very, very quickly if you observe this. Imports by France from India. France, India. That's 40. That's 6.5. How do I bring it to 10%? Divide by 4 and divide this by 4. 64 by 4 is 16, right? This is 1.6 something, right? Then 100% is going to be 16 point something. Just write 16 point something. And export by France to Japan, to be read the other way around. Japan to France. You have to read these the other way around, right? You have to read these the other way around. UK to Japan, right? Because this is exports, not imports. And export is nothing but vice versa of import, right? So export by France to Japan is nothing but import by Japan from France. Import by Japan from France. That's 30, right? 30% tariff was 3. So 10% would have been 1 billion. 100% is going to give me the total imports. That's going to be just 10 billion. I need to find the highest over here. What's the highest of these numbers? It's option 2. Now we move to question 3. What is the trade surplus or trade deficit of India with UK? What do we know as a trade surplus? Trade surplus where exports minus imports. Now India with UK, I need to know exports India with UK. I need to know the exports minus imports. Now very, very simple, right? India with UK imports is just the table. India with UK, that's 20% over here and 5. If 20% is 5, then 100% is 5 times this. 5 times this becomes 25, right? You can try it out later, but start trying to do it this way. That's when you become quick with these. Exports over here is going to be what? Export is going to be the reverse. So when it comes to export of India to UK, I'm going to look at it the other way around. UK's import from India. So UK's import from India is nothing but India's export to UK. So if 30% is 3, 10% is 1, 100% is 10. So that's it. 10 minus 25, that's a minus 15. Minus 15 is going to be opposite of surplus. That's a deficit. Minus $15 billion deficit. That's option 4. As simple as that. Now, question 4. Among France and UK, who has or have trade surpluses with US? Among France and UK with US trade surpluses. Okay, let's do France to US quickly. France to US, what did I say? Export minus import. Import is a straightforward one. In the sense, it's France to US itself. France to US, 30% is 5.5. So if 30% is 5.5, 10% is divided by 3. 54 by 3 is 18, 1.8 something. That's going to be 18 point something, right? 18 point something is the imports. Or you could use a calculator, 5.5 divided by 0.3 and all of that. Still the same, right? What about exports over here? US to France imports. US to France, that's 20%. If 20% is 6, multiply with 500, multiply with 530. 30 minus 18 is going to be a surplus. I don't need the exact value, right? What about the next one? UK. UK-US relationship. What is that going to be? UK-US, let's go for the straightforward one. UK and US, the import part, 20% is 2.5, 5 times this, 5 times this is 12.5. That's the import part. What about the export? It's going to be US import from UK. US import from UK. If 30% is 3, 10% is 1, that's going to be 100% is 10, right? So 10 billion, 10 minus 12.5, that's a deficit. I don't want this. Which are the ones with trade surplus? It's going to be only France with US. So that's option 3.